Welcome back to the Top T Testosterone Fundamentals course. In this video, we're going to talk about cortisol. So, cortisol is a major antagonist of testosterone and is a big enemy to the growth and sustenance of your hard-earned muscles. Cortisol competes with testosterone, both for production and for androgen receptors. Cortisol blocks testosterone production even when you increase LH and GnRH. Catabolism and anabolism are constantly competing. Muscle protein synthesis and muscle protein breakdown are both always taking place simultaneously, and the net gain or net loss in muscle protein will determine whether you gain or lose muscle in that process. Cortisol is a stress hormone that is released when you're in an energy deficit and your glycogen storages have run out. Your body stores glycogen in your liver. When you need energy, the body will use these glycogen stores. When these glycogen stores run out, the body will start converting triglycerides, which are also stored in the liver, and muscle into usable energy or glucose. Now, what signals for the liver to start doing this? It's cortisol. Muscle requires lots of energy, and the more muscle mass you have, the more energy that your body requires every day just to exist and sustain that muscle mass. So when your body is low on energy, one of the first things it wants to do is break down muscle so the muscle can consume less energy and the body can meet the energy deficit to balance. And also, it's because the conversion of muscle and the breaking down is actually creating usable energy. The body is very intelligent, and its desire to survive will always come before your desire to build muscle. Cortisol is the hormone that your body releases to signal the breakdown of muscles for sugar. Keep in mind, guys, cortisol is not only bad. Cortisol is the hormone that'll wake you up in the morning. It's the hormone that will signal for your body to produce extra glucose. So in an emergency situation, if you need to fight, if you need to run away, whatever it is, cortisol equips you with the energy to do that in the moment and survive the threat. However, if we have too much of this happening chronically and we're chronically in a state of stress, then it's very difficult for the body to sustain this state long term, and we end up with different issues. Keep in mind as well, guys, that it's a lot easier to lose muscle than it is to gain it. Cortisol blunts the production of testosterone in the Leydig cells in your balls. Cortisol also upregulates myostatin like crazy. In fact, it's one of the most considerable upregulators of myostatin in the human body. We go over myostatin in extreme detail in the Top T training course. We talk about everything about the science of muscle building in the Top T training course, so definitely check that out. If that's of interest to you, check it out. Cortisol also negates the effects of insulin, which is the second most anabolic hormone in the body after testosterone, and negates the effect of testosterone. One of the main anabolic effects of insulin is the lowering of SHBG. So higher cortisol levels will also yield higher SHBG levels, which we don't want, of course. So here are some basic things that you guys can do to manage your cortisol and keep it to a minimum. Number one is eat breakfast, and especially a breakfast with carbs. The morning is the best time to eat carbs anyway because you're the most insulin sensitive at that time, as well as after a workout. Additionally, don't train for more than 45 minutes. After 45 minutes of training, testosterone levels will drop and cortisol levels will start to go up. If you do train for long, make sure that you carb up mid-workout with maple syrup in your water, fruit like medjool dates, bring a banana to the gym, or any other easy, simple sugar source to replenish your glycogen storages quickly. You can do a spoonful of honey, you can eat an apple, you can put literally cane sugar in your water, anything to make sure that you're getting carbs in the middle of your workout, which will stop that cortisol increase, which we're going to talk about later in this video. Next, you want to get enough rest between workouts. You also want to sleep enough, guys. You definitely don't want to be undersleeping for many reasons if your goal is to put on muscle, but one of those reasons is cortisol. Make sure that you're fully recovered before you get back in the gym. Also, consume fast digesting carbs post-workout and especially post-cardio. So that would be honey, maple syrup, fruit, any simple sugars. And then last but not least, never train fasted, which we're going to talk about in great detail right now. So we're going to go over a study where they took two groups to test the difference between cortisol spikes from a training program. So one group was given a carbohydrate drink, basically sugar water, while they were working out. It was an intra-workout drink, so that was while they are working out, in the middle of the workout, not before or after, specifically with the goal of keeping cortisol down. The other group got a placebo, which was just water. Neither group had any idea what they were getting. Both groups were put through the same 12-week training program. The goal of the study was to see if the spike in cortisol from training had any correlation to muscle growth during the program. When you train hard, you have higher glucose demand, which is obvious because you have a higher energetic demand. When your intake doesn't meet the demand and your glycogen storages are now depleted, cortisol spikes in order to generate glucose for energy. When you consume lots of sugar pre-workout or even intra-workout, cortisol will be lower because it's not needed because you have enough sugar. If you train fasted, you train when you haven't consumed enough glucose, or if you're training intensely for long periods of time regardless, especially full body workouts, then your body will be cranking out cortisol like crazy. So if you guys want to check out this chart in the bottom left, this is the difference between the post-workout cortisol spikes of the two groups. The group that drank carbs during the workout got a cortisol increase of only 7%, while the placebo group that didn't drink the carbs during the workout got a 99% increase in cortisol. Look at this difference in cortisol spikes with the only difference of drinking water with sugar versus not with sugar during their workout. And it was the same exact workout. The cortisol spikes interfere with testosterone and free testosterone, making it hard to maximize the results of that workout. Of course, you can still make gains through cortisol spikes, but it will be much slower than if you keep cortisol down. That's the concept for these keto guys. Can you put muscle on without eating carbs? Yeah, you can. Gluconeogenesis works, but it works a lot slower than if you were to just build muscle in the first place with sugar, with carb. The myostatin increases from cortisol spikes also make it much harder to put on muscle. Cortisol also affects amino acid absorption, compromises protein synthesis, and increases protein breakdown, like we've discussed. So now we can take a look at this chart and look at the difference in muscle gains of the two groups. So these two bars on the left are both the group that drank the sugar water, and on the right, these are both the group that drank just the regular water without the sugar. And the orange bars are the type 1 or slow twitch muscle fibers, and the black bars are the type 2 or fast twitch muscle fibers. So you guys can see here the difference in muscle growth between the two groups. Weight training exercise with the intra-workout carb drink ingestion resulted in significantly greater gains in both type 1 or slow twitch, which was 19.1% increase, and type 2 or fast twitch muscle fibers, 22.5% muscle fiber area than weight training exercise alone from the placebo group with the water. The difference in the cortisol response accounted for 74% of the variance. The R-score is 0.8579 of change in type 1 muscle fiber area, and 52.3% of the variance with an R-score of 0.7321 of change in type 2 muscle fiber area. These findings suggest that the modification of the cortisol response associated with carb ingestion can positively impact the skeletal muscle hypertrophic adaptation to weight training, aka drinking sugar during your workout helps you make gains with your muscle significantly better than if you don't consume sugar during your workout. If you have any experience with statistics, you know that if you can account for 74% of the variance, you pretty much have a sure answer. Cortisol was responsible for the difference in muscle growth here. It is very clear based on this data. And if you guys look here at this chart, let's take a look over here at the high cortisol group, the group that just drank the water. Through this 12-week program, I'm not sure what their caloric intake was, but this group actually barely gained any slow twitch muscle fibers and actually lost fast twitch muscle fibers, which are the ones that are responsible for explosiveness and serious strength. So this is not good. We definitely want to be consuming carbs mid-workout, guys. If you're going to the gym, training hard consistently, and you're not drinking sugar at the gym, you are literally doing yourself a disservice. When I made my initial transformation where I literally put on 25 pounds of pure muscle in just a few months, I was drinking maple syrup in my water every single time I was training. So I will tell you guys this from experience, this shit works. Drink sugar water at the gym. I highly recommend maple syrup over honey because honey tends to clump in the cold water at the bottom, and it doesn't really have a great texture for drinking water. So the maple syrup just has a little bit of a better texture to put in your water, so it's more of a consistent texture. Cane sugar also works pretty well. However, the micronutrient profile of maple syrup and honey are definitely significantly better. Maple syrup is also a pretty decent source of magnesium, which a lot of you are deficient in. A lot of people in the world are deficient in, and I usually do recommend supplementing, so maple syrup is another great thing to get magnesium on top of that. And especially as athletes who are training hard, we need even more magnesium than most people. So that's it, guys, for this module.